but I'll do my best, and I'll try to look at you as I'm reading. I have to sit down because I can't stand up and open a lot of stuff. Every moment. I was going to say, actually, it's greener for me to do it this way. I think it's called tree. Just reading. That was. And so here do my code selection. So I'm gonna try to do something that's a little on my mind lately. I don't know why. I'm a total atheist. I am. I don't believe there's anything after death. And so, but I'm obsessed with ghosts. Weirdly enough, right? And I keep thinking about them. And I love trying to think of, what it would be like to really see one, right? Constantly. And yet I did nothing in me that says, a ghost is possible. It's impossible. You can't have a ghost. But I love it. Right? And who wouldn't? I mean, I make films, and I often think, like, I love the movie. So this is a piece where I've been writing little pieces where I look at ghosts in Japan, in Japanese stories, and ghosts in African stories, and ghosts in classical, sort of 19th century European stories. So, but the one I'm going to read today are just little thoughts about ghosts in Japanese films, with some thoughts about other things, but you'll see. It's this is definitely a Japanese movie. And so I'll try to be loud. If I'm not loud, please tell me to be louder. I'll do the best I can. And I won't read for too long. So there's a wonderful thing here going on. It's called the Ghost Manifesto. And I'm just going to open with that. And it says something like this. And finally, we must recognize that we are ghosts too. There's a little distinction between haunted and the one who haunts. The former turns into the latter soon enough. Perhaps our capacity to recognize ghosts is what determines the likelihood that we too will be recognized in our struggle to be heard and seen. It is obvious that there's any other way. It's not obvious that there's any other way to do it. Now here's the thing. Everybody knows as we go through this. I'm really fascinated by the fact that I think that ghosts. I think I'm obsessed with ghosts because I actually think that I think it's a secret obsession. It's not because I think that I'm already a ghost, right? Because I don't have the same matter that I had, say, 10 years ago, and yet I look the same. So that thing that looks the same must be the ghost, right? Right? Against this matter flow, right? It has to be. So that's the ghost people. So that's another thing. So, all right, that's it. Let's go into some. Okay, the one thing that separates the living from the dead is that we have hope. There's always a chance, even a slim chance, that things might get better. Our luck could improve. Succinctly, to be alive is to be open to possibilities. To take for example, the crepuscular passage in Lady Murosaki's AD 1000 novel, The Tale of Genji. It seemed as though the waves were at Genji's door. Night after night, he lay listening to that melancholy sound and wondering whether in all the world there could be a place where the sadness of autumn was more overwhelming. That's what's human about Genji's sorrow. It occurs at a specific place and time. This means, one, that Genji is free to rise from his pillow and move to a less melancholy room of the home, or two, it's possible that Genji's sorrow may pass during the night, and upon waking the following morning, he'll be greeted by cheerful and reassuring waves. Ultimately, human sorrow is impermanent. It's not total or boundless, but like dread or happiness, is one of the various modes of being. This is why sorrow is in some ways beautiful. It never lasts, but fades and changes colors like autumn trees. As the Japanese scholar Shirine put it, the notion of impermanence is an extremely salient characteristic of the tale of Genji. The notion that all things are ephemeral, that things must change. The aesthetics of the book are based on the beauty of impermanence, the scattering of cherry blossoms, the dew appearing, disappearing from before the sun rises. Even though it reminds us of the futility of the world, it's precisely that. It's the sorrow in the impermanence that brings us aesthetic pleasure. So for us, sorrow is a phase, a place, a moment in time. For ghosts, however, there is no respite from sorrow. And whatever beauty there is in their sorrow, it's always a thin illusion that barely veils their great pain and wretchedness. This is why so many Japanese ghost stories, Yugetsu Monogatari, the Pinoni Latin, start with a beautiful woman who, when exposed as a shrewd ghost, immediately turns into a pile of putrid bones. This is the ghost's only truth. Decay, corruption, worms, the negative boil. Alright, the streets were empty and snowing, and snow was falling. Thick flakes siphoned out of the night by street lights. Out of the night by street lights appeared only moments before hitting the ground. Beyond the street lights, a cold and starless blackness. Below them, wild, white and shimmering crystals. This was the snowstorm of 1992. The second hour of the morning was slowly approaching. I was heading home after failing to find a house party. I had the city to myself. I passed closed bars, abandoned cars, and an empty metro bus in the middle of the intersection on Pine and Broadway. Time was still. While passing Bonnie Watson Funeral Home, I encountered a ghost. I noticed it and stopped walking. It did not stop, but seemed to pick up its pace. The thing was a ghost to me because of how it almost seemed to be there and not there. How it seemed to be a trick of light, something the blink of an eye could correct or remove. But no amount of blinking or adjustment in my position made it vanish into the blackness from which it was emerging. Just before entering my circle of light, the thing called my name. And just then, I saw that the ghost was in fact someone I knew. Al, an actor from Annex Theatre. At the time, he was losing a battle against AIDS and did not have long to live. The illness had reduced his once heavy body to bones and brought his brown skin to the brink of paleness. Al, I said to him, with some relief, you gave me a bit of a fright. I thought you were a ghost. Al looked at me with a skeletal face and said, that's funny. I thought you were a ghost when I first saw you. We laughed uneasily. And parted. He walked into the darkness and I into mine. As the funeral home receded, as the snow continued to fall, as the night became darker and colder, I began to see myself as the one who was mistaken, not Al. He did see a ghost. Indeed, the world that he was departing forever was dematerializing, becoming ghostly. Those who are terminally ill have a better view of life than those who are sound in health. They see the true thinness of things. They know that all reality is nothing more than a vibrant void, that everything is virtually nothing. And the more they die, the more they wonder how it is anyone could ever believe in a reality that's barely there at all. It's not surprising that so many ghost stories about ghosts that have no idea that they are ghosts, that they have died and gone on and gone to the other side. These stories are not really about the other side, but about this side, the one we're in, and the one that one that somehow tricks us into believing in ourselves. Al saw a ghost in a city